Hello, my friends. Welcome to Mr. English channel. I hope you have a good day. In this episode, we're going to talk about Adolf Hitler. Let's see who Adolf Hitler really was. What did he do? So, stay with me. Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, the leader of Germany's Nazi Party, was one of the most powerful and notorious dictators of the 20th century. After serving with the German military in World War I, Hitler capitalized on economic woes, popular discontent, and political infighting during the Weimar Republic to rise through the ranks of the Nazi Party. In a series of ruthless and violent actions, including the Reichstag fire and the Night of Long Knives, Hitler took absolute power in Germany by 1933. Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939 led to the outbreak of World War II, and by 1941, Nazi forces had used Blitzkrieg military Semitism and obsessive pursuit of Aryan supremacy fueled the murder of some 6 million Jews, along with other victims of the Holocaust. After the tide war turned against him, Hitler committed suicide in a Berlin bunker in April 1945. Early life. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889 in Braunau am Inn, a small Asturian town near the Austro-German frontier. After his father, Alois, retired as a state customs official, young Adolf spent most of his childhood in Linz, the capital of Upper Austria. Not wanting to follow in his father's footsteps as a civil servant, he began struggling in secondary school and eventually dropped out. Elias did in 1903, and Adolf pursued his dream of being an artist, though he was rejected from Vienna's Academy of Fine Arts. After his mother, Clara, died in 1908, Hitler moved to Vienna, where he pieced together a living painting scenery and monuments and selling the images. Lonely, isolated, and a voracious reader, Hitler became interested in politics during his years in Vienna and developed many of the ideas that would shape Nazi ideology. Military career of Adolf Hitler. In 1913, Hitler moved to Munich, in the German state of Bavaria. When World War I broke out the following summer, he successfully petitioned the Bavarian king to be allowed to volunteer in the reserve infantry regiment. Deployed in October 1914 to Belgium, Hitler served throughout the Great War and won two decorations of bravery, including the Rare Iron Cross First Class, which he rode to the end of his life. Nazi Party. After Hitler returned to Munich in late 1918, he joined a small German workers' party, which aimed to unite the interests of the working class with a strong German nationalism. His skilled oratory and charismatic energy helped propel him in the party's ranks, and in 1920 he left the army and took charge of its propaganda efforts. Beer Hall Putsch. On the evening of November 8, 1923, members of the SA and others forced their way into a large beer hall where another right-wing leader was addressing the crowd. Wielding a revolver, Hitler proclaimed the beginning of a national revolution and led marchers to the center of Munich, where they got into a gun battle with police. Mein Kampf. Tried for treason, Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but would serve only 9 months in the relative comfort of Landsberg Castle. During this period, he began to dictate the book that would become Mein Kampf, My Struggle, the first volume of which was published in 1925. the Schutzstaffel SS. By the time Hitler left prison, economic recovery had resorted some popular support for the Weimar Republic, and support for right-wing cause like Nazism appeared to be waning. Over the next few years, Hitler laid low and worked on reorganizing and reshaping Nazi Party. He established the Hitler Youth to organize youngsters and created the Schutzstaffel SS as a more reliable alternative to the SA. The Third Reich. In 1932, Hitler ran against the war hero Paul von Hindenburg for the presidency and received 36.8% of the vote. With the government in chaos, three successive chancellors failed to maintain control, and in the late January 1933, Hindenburg named the 43-year-old Hitler as a chancellor, capping the stunning rise of an unlikely leader. Reichstag fire. Though the Nazis never attained more than 37% of the vote at the height of their popularity in 1933, Hitler was able to grab absolute power in Germany largely due to divisions and inactions among the majority who opposed Nazism. After a devastating fire at Germany's parliament building, the Reichstag, in February 1933, possibly the work of a Dutch communist, through later evidence suggests that Nazis set the Reichstag fire themselves. Hitler had an excuse to step up the political oppression and violence against his opponents. Persecution of Jews. On September 15, 1935, passage of Nuremberg laws deprived Jews of German citizenship and barred them from marrying or having relationships with persons of German or related blood. Through the Nazis attempted to downplay its persecution of Jews in order to placate the international community during the 1936 Berlin Olympics, in which German Jewish athletes were not allowed to compete. Additional decreases over the next few years disenfranchised Jews and took away their political and civil rights. Outbreak of World War II. In March 1936, against the advice of his generals, Hitler ordered German troops to reoccupy the demilitarized left bank of the Rhine. Over the next 2 years, Germany concluded alliances with Italy and Japan, annexed Austria, and moved against Czechoslovakia, all essentially without resistance from Great Britain, France, or the rest of the international community. Once he confirmed the alliance with Italy in the so-called Pact of Steel in May 1939, Hitler then signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. On September 1st, 1939, Nazi troops invaded Poland, finally prompting Britain and France to declare war on Germany. Concentration camps. Beginning in 1933, the SS had operated a network of concentration camps, including a nutritious camp at Dachau near Munich to hold Jews and other targets of the Nazi regime. End of World War II, with defeats at Elaminine and Stalingrad, as well as the landing of US troops in North Africa by the end of 1942, the tide of the war turned against Germany. As the conflict continued, Hitler became increasingly unwell, isolated, and dependent on medications administered by his personal physician. Several attempts were made on his wife, including that one came close to succeeding in July 1944, when Karl Klaus von Stauffenberg planted a bomb that exploded during a conference at Hitler's headquarters in East Prussia. How did Adolf Hitler die? At midnight on the night of April 28, 29, Hitler married Eva Braun in the Berlin bunker. After dictating his political testament, Hitler shot himself in his side on April 30. Braun took poison. Their bodies were burned according to Hitler's instructions. With Soviet troops occupying Berlin, Germany surrendered unconditionally on all fronts of May 7, 1945, bringing the war in Europe to a close. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Remember to subscribe to the Mr. English channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos.